right. We are the forgotten redheaded stepchild at episode number 60. Back in the saddle again. Me and Fred have both made time to get back on the air. Actually, we usually do on a Saturday night, but I'm doing Friday because I'll actually be out of town tomorrow afternoon, evening. I'll make it back in time. So Fred, what's been going on, man?
Well, let's see. I haven't been on this show in 7,000. When the last time I was on this show, Ice Cream Soldier was a brand new release from Hasbro.
Oh wow!
Wow, that fell flat. But not a lot. We've had a lot of let's see what's happened in the world of G.I. Joe in terms of Hasbro lately. Let's think about that. Nothing. Yes, that's right. G.I. Joe, the brand that kicked Hasbro into high gear in the 60s and then again in the 80s, remains the redheaded stepchild of a toy company that seems more content with buying other people's licenses and brands than it does developing their own. Hasbro bought Power Rangers and everybody was like, ooh, this is a good thing. And then they laid off a ton of people. Hasbro this week, it was announced, acquired Entertainment One. Now, if you've never heard of Entertainment One, it's probably because you haven't read the back of packaging for toys for children that are like under 4 years old. Entertainment One is a preschool brand company. So they own Peppa Pig and they own PJ Masks and a bunch of other things that are all going to probably air on Nick Jr. The interesting facet of this is that Hasbro bought a company and they spent $4 billion for it. And I believe it was in cash. Good. So the last time they did this, it was all rosy and good, and then a whole lot of people lost their jobs. When you spend $4 billion for something, you've got to cut back somewhere, and switching to generic creamer in the break room isn't enough. So we're probably gonna. I'm gonna just go ahead and throw this out there. You buy another existing company that's already got existing infrastructure. You don't need people duplicating, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more layoffs in the near future.
Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever.
Now, the thing that about buying Entertainment One, and I can share the screen, maybe if anybody really gives a care to see the Bloomberg article, is that by buying this, Hasbro is moving itself firmly into the space of preschool toys. That is a big deal. So by going and grabbing Entertainment One, as you can see here on my screen, this is the Peppa Pig brand, and the usual insourcing and cost synergies and long-term profitabilities, as well as future growth revenue, whatever. The big thing is that Hasbro realizes that kids are playing with toys younger and younger and younger, and they're getting out of toys earlier. So they're leaning hard into the preschool space, and they're leaning hard into a company that has already got TV and movie deals and TV deals in place. So the big thing, the reason why I say there will probably be some potential layoffs, the Entertainment One executives have agreed to join the Hasbro team. And so, again, you don't have need for people duplicating each other. The other thing is this does give Hasbro a stronger presence in some larger markets. As Entertainment One already had a presence in some of these places. So blah, blah, blah. Nothing new for G.I. Joe, but man alive, Peppa Pig is now going to be part of the Hasbro shared universe. Optimus Prime and Peppa Pig.
Who knew?
There we go.
I do want to take a quick second and give maybe a moment of silence for the fallen soldier, the G.I. Joe Collectors Club, just recently. No. They are officially dead and over with in the dirt, kind of like the 4 dead dogs I left my mother's house in the backyard.
Oh!
So, yeah, the club is dead, gone, over with. he didn't even have the decency in letting the collectors have 90% off before shutting down, which he also did that with the Transformers. No big surprise there. Also, he cut it down early instead of giving it to because he had till the end of this physical year to sell off what merchandise he had left. He was like, yeah, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go ahead and lay off the rest of the employees and sit back here and count my money and go buy my shorts.
Well, and that's because also I think I noticed is it GI Joe Club or GI Joe Con? One of those two. The domain is coming up for renewal in another month.
I bet you he renews it.
Oh, he's going to totally squat on the IP. Savage will give up nothing if he can make a buck on it.
He is actually trying to sell the BotCon name. He's been trying to sell it, and I can tell you that the dollar amount was the beginning was in the mid. It was 25,000 is what he was asking for.
You know what? It'd be easier just to go out and register bot-con.com.
But he actually went back and
or bot.con.
Right. But then he lowered the price on it, and then the person still didn't take it up, and rumor had it that it possibly Colin with TFCon might buy it, just sit on it.
Wow.
So if you get that kind of money throw around just to buy a name and sit on it, that's great.
I got my last order from the Collectors Club in recently. I went through and bought some newsletters that I didn't have, or I think I'd thrown out years ago because they're crap all. But I thought, I'll get them. So they're all like, 90 cents each. And I got a couple Diamond Edition comics I didn't have, 90 cents each. So my order total on merchandise ended up being like $18, right?
Yeah, how much was the shipping?
$23.
You didn't pay it, did you?
Oh, there's nobody to talk to at that point. So I'm like,
oh no, you should have emailed Angie. That's what I did because I bought 10 bio cards and instructions.
Yeah.
From BotCon 2009 that came up to a total of $10, and shipping was going to cost me $16.
Yeah.
And I emailed her and I said, "Hey, this shipping isn't correct." I gave her the items I was getting. She gave me a total, asked me which card to use. And I told her which one to use, and my shipping ended up being $6.35.
Again, there's no point. The club's dead. Okay. Yeah. So long. Good riddance. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
But if you want to see the club's second reincarnation, go over to eBay to Laney Latham's eBay page. eBay page. She's selling all the extra stuff over there now.
Oh, you have to send me Lanny's ID because Lanny unfriended me. So he
unfriended and blocked me too. So yeah.
But I really want to see. I just want to say that again, this is indicative of the club. Oh, we'll fix your shipping, but only if you call in. Like, come on. You know what? There's a reason that no one gives a shit that you are gone now. I'm sorry. There's. And I think it's funny, like 2 years ago when they were going to go away the first time and there are certain people that come out of the woodwork and, the club, it's so great and it's so wonderful. All these staunch defenders and, God, it was a big love fest for the club. And if you spoke up, you were kind of, oh no, you're one of those fringe people. Boy, the tide really shifted on them in the last couple months, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But, oh, well, you know what? I'm not going to miss it. My wallet's not going to miss them one bit. I'm, if I want to buy 3 3/4 action figures, I'll buy Fortnite stuff right now because we know Hasbro's not making crap. Speaking of, I don't know if anybody has been following the news this week, than the last week, but Paramount Pictures, hey, we're gonna announce we're back talking about our Snake Eyes movie. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I have zero confidence in Hollywood to execute, to not muck it up, because Hollywood frequently doesn't think anybody, no one is capable of telling a good story but them. What? And so the first announcement was that Henry Golding from most recently of Crazy Rich Asians, was let me just do this again real quick. That Henry Golding of Crazy Rich Asians was in talk to be the star of the film, and we didn't know what that was. That could mean that he is he could have been Storm Shadow, could have been Snake Eyes. If he's going to be the star, he's going to be Snake Eyes. And that led to some people getting on the bandwagon of this story from Inverse, and I kind of think this cracks me up that G.I. Joe finally fixes Snake Eyes being a white guy with Henry Golding. This made the rounds. Oh, look, they're giving me a pop-up. Multiverse shared this, and it comes off of an editorial from someone else on another site down below. From Nerds of Color, Keith Chow wrote that Snake Eyes was his favorite G.I. Joe character. Blah blah blah, and he's an Asian. Keith is Asian American, so this was a big deal. That now they're going to make Snake Eyes, Asian, because then he can identify it with it. But he said it was ultimately disappointing to learn that Snake Eyes was a white guy, because suddenly there was no indication of it in the comics, according to Keith, until that big mask reveal. Kind of going to disagree with that, Keith. You need to read the comics a little bit. But the whole point is that now Snake Eyes is going to be Asian. He's in a mask, right? Like, what's the big deal?
Well, apparently they'll probably not show a majority of them in the mask, is what it'll be now.
Well, probably not, because an article came out today, and I'm going to share the screen on this again, because apparently I'm in screen sharing mode. They have cast Storm Shadow. And, okay, you know what? They found, it's Andrew Koji. He was in a film called The Warrior. And apparently he's got some serious martial arts chops, which I think is cool. You know what? If they're leaning into that, I would rather see them have some people that have got some chops than apparently what happened in Marvel's Iron Fist series on Netflix, where the fights were really poorly edited in the first season because the main character, the lead actor, was not trained as a dancer or a martial artist and just couldn't mimic the moves. But this is not the most interesting part of this film, in this article, I should say. And this is what tells me, again, the director is from 2 of the Divergent films, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to find the key bit. Here we go. This film has a script from Evan Spilatopoulos, a little Greek name there, and the story is said to center on Snake Eyes seeking revenge for his father's death by joining a ninja clan, and in the process, finding acceptance. So, I'm just going to kind of come back from that a moment and say, what? Okay, I get it that his dad died. He also had a twin sister that died. But he wasn't joining a ninja clan for revenge. I mean, if they're trying to play this as a Snake Eyes angry revenge angle, that's not Snake Eyes. That's never been Snake Eyes. If you've read the Marvels, and this is not, obviously cartoon Snake Eyes didn't really have that backstory, but if you're taking this from the comics, that's not, Snake Eyes had a chance to get revenge on Storm Shadow when in the 26-27 issue. They were having a knife fight on the top of the subway train. There's a tunnel coming up. Snake Eyes falls back. Storm Shadow goes to leap toward him. And the reason why that happened is that Snake Eyes saw they were headed toward an overpass. Had Storm Shadow not fallen down or flattened down, he would have been killed by, hitting this. Snake Eyes could have had his revenge right there. He's never been one to seek revenge. So making this a revenge story, I think, is kind of weak. And it just goes to show that Hollywood probably watched like 2 episodes of Renegades and went, that's our research. We've done it. That's the most recent cartoon. We now know all we need to know about Snake Eyes. Because clearly they didn't even go back to the weird origin that's in Rise of Cobra. And so I know some people out there, oh, yay, a new movie. Woo!
I don't think it's ever going to get off the ground.
First of all, it's got a 2020 release date. I think it's October 2020. So they've got a year and 3 months to get this thing done.
I still don't think it'll get done.
It is technically possible. If they really hustled and there's no production delays and anything. Here's the deal. What it says to me is that, again, okay, we've had rumors and we've had comments get out that, it's going to be G.I. Joe for a new millennium and a new a new age demographic and all this. But it's just like, you keep going back to the same old well again. You're G.I. Joe in the real American hero era that we know came about because they changed G.I. Joe for the 80s. Real American Hero was not, before that was Adventure Team. Before that, he was a nameless military realism line, a nameless character. So for God's sakes, just quit holding on to a Real American Hero in the 80s like it's the only thing and do something original. Because I think you'd find fans would be more forgiving if it was a new story and it was tied to G.I. Joe somehow. But whatever. So that's where we're at. Yay!
I don't believe it's going to happen. I want to throw up a screen share real quick.
Uh-oh. Screen share is a lot easier with StreamYard. I will say that.
It is. It's very, very, very easy. So we should be looking at Bellaverse over on Facebook. I know we had Bobby on a little while ago. Last episode I think he was on. Since then, he's come out with a few things, and I'm sure you can testify to some of this. He did some new prints on one of these figures. What's this one chick's name?
Oh,
Fred, what's her name?
Crap. Bobby's gonna kill me. I'm bad with names.
Oh, I am too. But anyways, he redid this sculpt here. I believe the head is, I guess, the whole torso. It's got a whole new torso.
He's done a lot of work on a lot of these, and I think that's what's kind of interesting is that he basically, look, the first Kickstarter didn't fund, and there are a myriad reasons why it may or may not have. That's not for us to go into because no one's going to ever know for certain. But Bobby has really done some pretty intelligent restructuring of a lot of things, and including he's getting pictures of these characters out a lot further. It's not Eclipse. It's God. He is going to kill me. And somebody in the chat is probably yelling her name to us right now.
I can't.
But he dropping the new sculpts I think was a really good idea. I think that it's giving people, because before he had I think 6. So by having, he had 6 to show before, he's much further along in the process. And I think it just makes people more inclined. It's Pandora, for God's sakes. Why can I not remember Pandora?
You know what's really cool about this one is how I didn't notice it before. Is that she's got a scar like she's the Joker.
Oh, she does. Yeah, it's straight through both sides of her mouth.
Yeah, I think that's pretty badass. I like that.
That's actually one of Bobby's favorites. And yeah, I mean, I think this is cool. We're getting a lot more looks at the product before he goes back to another Kickstarter. You're probably also going to talk about some of the ways he's talked about restructuring the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I'll get to that here in a few minutes. And I guess these are the Swarm helmets.
Oh yeah, dude, the Swarm Troopers are cool. They're I like the one on the right especially.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's cool. I think it's kind of a weird Mysterio sort of vibe to it. The one that you just had up, we had not had a chance to see him previously. So I think that's cool that he was not a figure that had been we hadn't seen an actual sculpt of him. I know these are waxes, but
I like the beard on that one.
I wonder why. Mike's a big fan of Gillette. He's going to shave his beard in the coming months and show that he's the best a man can get.
Now, who is this dude?
Hold on, I'm on a different tab. That's the main guy. It's just a different way.
Oh, it's just, okay. I don't see his helmet. Is this not his helmet? That's what it is.
That's Condor, I believe.
Yeah,
Or no, it may be. God, you can tell I just got home from work and have
Bobby
done
gonna
like
kill both of us.
literally 2 seconds of prep for this tonight. I'm sorry if it's not the Bone Collector, who's like pretty much my favorite thing in the entire line. Bobby knows this. I think that's High Point actually. I think that's High Point that you were looking at.
All right,
No,
now
I
here.
think that I think that this is kind of the biggie.
Well, okay. Go ahead and say your 2 cents, and I'll say my 2 cents.
Okay. So Bobby had asked if people were into the Steel Brigade went over hugely. I mean, he sent out the Kickstarter survey. He also did a social media survey. He compared the results of the two. People like the Steel Brigade.
They
So
love the
much,
Steel
so much
Brigade.
so that I think it's hilarious that in the new GI Joe upcoming mobile game they had to change the name.
Would they change it to?
Oh, it's like Iron Brigade Trooper or some crap.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I don't play mobile games. But in this case, he asked and people said yes, and he unveiled that there is also a female variant of the Steel Brigade, which is cool because that opens up for people who are customizers or troop builders. You can have men and women in the line. And the thing is, he only has to do gender variations because since they're covered head to toe, he doesn't have to do different ethnic variations because the Steel Brigade can be whatever you want it to be. So I dig it. I know there are people that are probably going to say, well, she's got boob armor. Kind of like they did with the club female Cobra Troopers. There was people that complained about, well, those are awfully well endowed. These are stylized figures, so I think it's cool.
And want to be the naysayer of it. I see it and I think to myself, I feel like it goes back to the whole issues in the GI Joe comics with Sidwell and everything about changing genders, changing colors. Now, granted, he's not changing genders; he's adding a gender.
He's adding another option.
Right, but I mean, I guess my point would be is that I would not want my Steel Brigade to be a female. Maybe that's sexist of me, and so be it. But I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I think it's really cool looking, but would I probably get it? Probably, but I don't agree with it.
The
That's
one
just
thing I
me
think is
personally.
interesting is that he had to slightly change the torso armor to allow for the female anatomy, but in doing so, beneath the chest area, kind of over her lower ribs and on the side of her abdomen, she's got those clip pouches, and I think those are cool.
Oh, okay.
I think those are seriously cool. I do wish like how the armor on the male up on the upper torso on the pecs, it's got the lines that go through it to show that it's plated. I kind of wish the female had a little bit of an aesthetic mirroring that a little more closely. But other than that, I think it's badass.
And like I said, I mean, it's a nice looking figure. It's not one that I would not, be too excited for. I guess I'd say. Again, it goes back to the whole thing about changing genders, changing colors, changing ethics.
See, and because
I'm
it's a
old school, I
trooper,
guess.
it doesn't bother me at all because like you mentioned in the comic, okay, they turned Salvo into a large African American woman, so they not only changed his gender, they changed his ethnicity. They kind of changed a lot, and despite what some people say, I think gender, that it shouldn't matter. I think it does because I think it changes how characters interact with each other. It changes how the character is perceived a little bit. And if you're going to do that, why not create something new? Why change the gender of a character or an ethnicity of a character when you could create somebody new and have the two side by side and it's even more badass? But within this case, I think what he's done is he's opened it up a little more. If it were me, I would probably make the picture that you have up right now, which this is going to be the initial goals. It's going to be Bone Collector and Condor and Steel Brigade, I believe,
The
as,
three.
as the initial, and then they're all going to be stretch goals.
And that's what really got me is that, I mean, I know maybe he was going by the votes, maybe he wasn't. If it went by the votes, I'm really surprised to see Concord up in the top three.
I think because look, I think Bone Collector and Steel Brigade are in there are because of the votes. I think Condor is in there
Absolutely.
because as a creator, Bobby's allowed to put some of the ones he likes the best in there. And
Right.
Condor is kind of I don't want to say Duke because some people get really stupid about Duke. But I think Condor is kind of his everyman average Joe of the Action Force line. He's just, the standard dude. And I think that's fine. I think it's okay. Because if nothing else, Condor comes with a crap ton of really good gear.
Right. I
As
would
long
like
as
to
Bone
see a
Collector's
chick
out,
in
I'm
there.
happy.
I think I would have rather seen a chick in there, like the one we looked at that has the scars on her face. I think that'd be pretty cool to have.
Oh yeah, I think Pandora is awesome. The one that I really want to see, I want to see Eclipse unlocked because of like the Sherma head and some of the options he showed for her.
Right.
I think that there's a lot of potential there. I know Bobby has said in the past he wants these to be characters. This is not like Marauder, where Marauder is you are buying pieces and they're generic and you can make them into characters, but they're not defined characters out of the box. Well, with Action Force, Bobby is going for something different. And I'm not bashing on Marauder because I love Marauder and have the first of my geared up figures have arrived. But I think this is a solid move. Yeah, I could see maybe sliding a female into the first three, but as much as people want females, and the lines that a lot of collectors do, I think I would have maybe Eclipse be the first stretch goal, and then have Pandora be one a little further up, kind of stagger them.
Right.
Or Bobby may put Pandora first and make Eclipse the one.
Man, maybe put some swarm troopers in there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Maybe some troopers.
I mean, look, there's a balance to this, and there's a real art form to deciding what to include and what not to include, because you have to balance your stretch goals with things that people are going to want, and they're going to kind of help virally promote it in order to get those goals unlocked. At the same time, you have to give them enough meat on the plate in the beginning that you're going to fund. And so, I think it's a live and learn. And as Bobby had said before, I mean, Kickstarter, it's a lot of it's timing, and it's a lot of what's going on in the market at the time. And there've been there are a lot more Kickstarters now, and not all the Kickstarters are funding either. And
No.
some of that's fatigue, and some of that is, look, people back certain Kickstarters, and they end up having to wait 3 years to get a figure. That's a hard sell in our current, hey, I can download it right now off Amazon for $9.99 for an album, or I can buy, go on Netflix and get the movie I want right now. Our level of patience has eroded.
Changed.
So.
Yeah. They see, and I think him going, what was the initial? Was it 5 figures?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think you got 2 of the most sought after figures in here.
Yeah.
I don't see it as being a problem in funding this time around, depending on what the fund goal is. It's just curious on which ones will be after that. Which lineup.
And
Like which unlock stretch goal will be followed by who. And of course, neither one. Well, I know neither one of us know how much it is, when it's going to go live or anything. But to my understanding, it was going to be. I thought he said sometime September-ish is what he said in the last episode.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's soon, and hopefully Unicron don't get funded, and I don't have to worry about that.
Oh, there's no way in hell Unicron is gonna fund without like a lot of online stores coming in
Well,
and
here's the
throwing
kicker on
money at
that
it.
real quick. The online stores have not put their orders in yet, and Tacoma Tommy Mall, rumor has it they have over 3,000 orders. So there is a possibility it will actually hit
They still
literally the
have to
last
hit
day.
8,000 backers,
Yeah, but
and
they're at, I think it'll hit, but barely hit, but barely hit.
I think that Unicron is. I know we're tangenting into the land of the plastic robots. I think Unicron. Look, my 12-year-old, 10-year-old self would have easily sold my neighbors for that Unicron back in the day.
Yeah,
You know, I'm 46. I'm looking around. I've got the Armada Unicron like a lot of people. I don't have the cool Amazon repaint. I wish I did, but um, a lot of people are going, man, this thing's awesome. Where the hell am I going to put it?
exactly. It's 19 pounds.
And like Mike was good enough to hook me up at JoeCon with a Tripticon. He's still sitting in the box. My Fort Max,
Oh,
my Comic Con Fort Max from a couple of years ago is still in the box.
oh wow.
So, well, and it's I look, I bought the Mega Action series, the MAS, the Toys Alliance ones, and I have Megatron and Prime, and they are massive. And I have that ginormous Jakks Pacific Godzilla from a couple of years ago. I love those things. I don't know where the hell to put them half the time
I hear
because
that.
they take up a lot of space. You know, it's just the nature of the beast. But
Exactly. Here is a hard copy or soft copy, or you want to say, of the female trooper or female steel brigade. I'm sorry.
yeah, I dig it, man. I really do. I think one of the best things that Bobby's done is he is freaking Ron Rudat, man. Um, I love the fact that Bobby though has really, for someone who used to not be on social media at all,
Mm-hmm.
he has really embraced building up a community. God, I love that picture. Building up a community and really getting feedback from people on what they want and what they don't, because ultimately these are the people who are going to fund his project.
Right.
And I'm not saying you have to compromise yourself as a creator, because I don't feel he is. The other thing is that we now, before we go into this Kickstarter, have a lot more pictures of these figures in action. He's done, like the funny shut the bits, and he's got,
Yeah.
the painted people have seen them, so they feel more real. They're not like some Kickstarters where it's like, oh, look, it's vapor. Yep, he's also announced that Bill Nedrow and Justin Bell are going to be working on an online comic for the site. People know Justin because Justin's been around in the Joe fandom for like a million years. As generalsjoes.com and more recently generalsjoesreborn.com. Justin is also the writer of the Eagle Force online comic that went out for that Kickstarter. Bill Nedrow, however, is you may know from Kindle Worlds originally.
Mhm.
He was writing a lot of historically integrated G.I. Joe stories. And then Bill is the writer of the Marauder Task Force novel. Woo! So I picked that up recently. That's on my reading for either this weekend or next weekend. So by doing so, he's brought in some of the flavor of Eagle Force and some of the flavor of Marauder in these two together. So I think that'll be interesting. They're both, I've known Justin a long time. I've known Bill not as long. They're both really solid guys. They're both really passionate about writing. And I think it'll be interesting to see what comes of this.
Yeah, I think it's
I also
interesting.
want
It's good.
Justin to smile in his picture because, buddy, I've known you a long time. You just look like your puppy died. He's
But
sad.
yeah, it'd be good to have a storyline comic to go along with the figures as well.
Well,
So
and that was always part of the plan, I think. I think Bobby was really always wanting to do that, and again to build a mythos and to build this story that isn't, that he can kind of have a narrative behind it, kind of like what we got when even if you didn't read the comics or watch the cartoons in the 80s, you had file cards that told the story
mhm.
of GI Joe back in the day. And if you had nothing else, you knew that Stalker was a guy who grew up on the wrong side of the tracks in Detroit and got his life turned around by joining the military. And you knew that, Gung Ho was from this ridiculously large clan of Cajuns down in the bayous of Louisiana, or that, a Roadblock was a gourmet chef and from Biloxi. And I think that's kind of awesome. So,
um, for people who did the chicken fried toys, Dom, Dom,
Time
no,
Novel Legends.
yeah, that's it. Apparently, John's going to have some kind of announcement at the end of the month. Either maybe he's going to talk about Wave 2, or someone posted a picture of all the ones that did not get unlocked are going to be put out. So hopefully there's something pretty cool coming out. I got to finish getting the rest of my Cowboys from him.
That Kickstarter came and I opened that box, and it was one of those things where John was not, I think it would have been 3 years in October from when he started this process. And the one thing some people were kvetching a little bit about how long it takes. And I'm like, look, man, John is a part of a 2-man operation that, he's not a toy company with an infrastructure, and what he was able to deliver, on, through Kickstarter and all that is a line of figures that are, I mean, they're gorgeous. No, nobody has paint jobs quite like those. I mean, if you see like the striped pants on a couple of the figures and you're like, holy crap, like nobody does that.
Right. Those figures were top notch. I was really impressed with the ones I got so far.
Oh, the only thing it's funny is when I first got it, I got the bartender and I pulled out the package and I'm like, wasn't he supposed to? Oh yeah, his cask is in a separate baggie because it couldn't fit on the card.
Right.
Cast / pickle barrel.
Right.
I'm looking forward to seeing this line grow. I know Cowboys aren't quite as popular as they once were. Every era has its fiction. At one point it was Cowboys were everything, and then it was pulp heroes, and then it was military in the 80s, and then it was like the ninja martial arts in the 90s, and now we've kind of moved into superheroes, and Disney's not going to let that die.
No, they'll just buy everything.
It's going to happen. But I think that Cowboys still hold a special place in like the American culture, and these figures are fantastic.
Yeah,
they are just so freaking cool.
And the bad thing about waiting so long to get them, which is it isn't just John. There's a lot of companies waiting forever to get their figures on Kickstarter. I mean, I'm still waiting on Malaria Hannah figure.
I laugh because so am I.
Yeah, don't laugh too hard.
Look, there are Kickstarters that will deliver, and there are Kickstarters that will never deliver. And it's the nature of the beast. Just because, I hate to say it, just because a project backs, it funds, that just means you're giving your money to it. That's still not a guarantee that the project will succeed. Palladium Books, who I used to play their RPG games for decades, they did a Robotech Kickstarter. They collected almost $2 million on it. Jesus. And what ended up coming out was not what was promised. And, you were supposed to get these little miniatures of all the mechs and everything. But near the end, they were delivering cardboard punch outs of certain ones.
No.
It's the fact that Dime Novel Legends funded and delivered is awesome.
Yeah.
The same thing goes out to Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. From Spiro Toys, that they've done 2 Kickstarters now, and their first one didn't fund the first time. And So now, and they've been showing pictures of theirs. Oh, and man, you've got that tiger from the first series. Man, the second series, these things are behemoths.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. And yet I still don't have my Larry Hama figure. So it is what it is, man. This is the era that we're in. Boss fight. People were saying, well, boss fight's been quiet on their horses for a bit. They're getting there. That's a whole new build on those. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Oh, and Mike's teasing, who needs Joe? Who needs the Collectors Club? And who needs Joe Con when we have Joe Fest?
Yeah, for people who've been hiding in a rock, I know we're a little late in the game and say anything about it, but Ed came out and announced Joe Fest 2020 is June 27th, which I believe is going to be a 3-day event, or really a Friday or Saturday, Sunday.
It's a full 2-day with activities on the Friday.
So basically, it's almost like a Joe Con.
And have you noticed he moved the venue?
Yes.
It's no longer at a hotel. He's at a full-fledged convention center.
And that's smart because the last 2 years, just looking at the pictures and the videos from last year, it was elbows and assholes in there. That's all to it. I mean, it was. I mean, a lot of assholes, more assholes than elbows probably. But the point being is that it was extremely tight fitted in there, and I talked to Rick, and Rick's a big old boy like myself. And he had a hard time getting around some of them areas inside there. So,
well, and the fact that he had space problems at his old venue is not an indication on the quality. It is a statement about how well the event went over.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it really, in 2 years, it outgrew its venue. And unlike JoeCon, which had a Sergeant Slaughter themed set, and no Sergeant Slaughter, Joe Fest has already locked down Sarge for next year as well.
Yeah, and that's something I guess I wanted to touch on, was that I'm kind of surprised to see you bring back the main guest 2 year, a second year in a row. So it's kind of like, will there be enough interest for the same group of people who come out to see him again?
Have you met Sarge?
Never.
Oh my God. Okay. So I've met him twice now, once at a JoeCon and once in Peoria. He was here at a local ballpark. Sarge, and even Brian Savage talked about this at the final JoeCon. Sarge is like the nicest guest you'll ever have. And the thing is that he is so proud of his time being affiliated with G.I. Joe that, when I met him at the ball game, all these people, he was signing autographs in the back, and it's a minor league team, and all these people had their wrestling stuff. And here I come up with my 2 SDCC Slaughter figures, and he lit up, got up around the table, shook my hand, put me in the Cobra Clutch, did the whole thing, signed the hell out of front and back, personalized, and took about 10 minutes to really, and he had a line. But, when you went up to the table and you looked, he had his wrestling photos that you could buy, and then he had G.I. Joe photos. And he had more G.I. Joe photos than he did wrestling photos. You can tell he's just so Sarge is a fantastic guest. And I think he's one that a lot of people are going to dig. Plus, on top of it, Ed managed to pull in more Hasbro people than the club did the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, I don't think.
I mean, he pulled in voice actors. He pulled in, and not just one voice actor. He pulled in voice actors. He pulled in Sergeant Slaughter. He got, Larry and Kirk and Ron Root at a con. And to the best of my knowledge, Ron was never invited as a guest to a JoeCon.
That's just crazy.
I mean, I could be wrong. I missed a bunch of them near the end, but it just strikes me as odd that it took, it just shows that it took the fans, a fan-run event, to really
cater to the fans.
Well, I mean, and at one point the club started out; they were fans. they were originally fans that ran an event. It just, the lure of Nerd Bunny is very powerful. So, by the way, I do want to give a shout out and I'm going to try to hijack Mike's screen share in a second. One moment. If people out there are not aware of these, you should be. And get it open. Sorry, my internet connection is not the fastest this evening, and I did not queue all this up in advance. All right, Mike, are you still screen sharing?
Yeah, you go do your screen share, and I'll click it up there.
Okay. Screen share. Look at this. So I want to show these off a little bit if people haven't seen these, because I think these are kind of awesome. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a big fan of Marauder gun runners. And Marauder dropped this in early August, this little picture. And, these are all made with Marauder parts. Some of these people may or may not look slightly familiar to you. Each of the figures in this picture is a whopping $20.
Yeah, Christopher Kelly asked if we had seen the Marauders.
A whopping $20, no painting needed, to assemble these. And I have 2 of them now, and I have 2 more coming. I bought Duke, and Duke was fantastically easy to put together. I don't have mine handy because I would show it to you. And then I bought Outback. And again, I'm sorry, this guy who may or may not bear a resemblance to Mr. Selkirk, but for $20, I mean, I want you to think about at the FSS and the last couple series we got. Look at these figures and all the stuff that comes with them: removable clip, removable silencer, removable flashlight, removable knife, pistols that come out of the holsters. And you're not married to the configuration that's there. I have to admit, Falcon's probably not my favorite of the group. I'm sorry, this guy who is not Falcon. But I mean, I think he's fantastic. Even there's a person who may or may not resemble a Steadicam gunner, but could also resemble a certain redneck driver. And if you have not check these out, I would highly recommend ordering a couple of these. And the other one I want to point out, it's not G.I. Joe, but you know what? Who cares? John got a lot of requests for a person he was known as Theodore before, who may or may not be obsessed on a trail of revenge over the death of his dog. Well, he created a kitted out version also for $20. This one's sold out, but will be restocking. So I just want to show that he comes with a shotgun. He came with 2 pistols. He comes with the sword. He comes with knives. I mean, mother of God, everywhere you look on this figure, there's just some way to kill you. And this one will also be restocked at $20. So I think what's fun about this one too is it even comes with the alternate sleeves and hands, so you can go kung fu with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. He's got the fists too. I mean, like, my God, Marauder's just killing it. I've been looking at some of my ladder offering club stuff recently, and I was comparing it to Marauder, and I opened up this guy, and he's not finished. I haven't put most of his pouches on. This is a way better figure than most of the FSS figures that I received.
Wow.
I'm just going to call it. And I spent $20. Okay, I didn't get the card. I didn't get the file card recycled. I didn't get the art. I don't care because I'm an opener. And I'm going to put this over the Tiger Force Outback any day of the week. I really am. Sorry, dude. He's a nicer figure. So if you have not considered, I mean, like, literally, I have to put all of this on him yet, including brackets for the flashlight. The flashlight can be removable. So if you have not considered these, I really would consider purchasing from Marauder on these. The only exception is you can't get the Combat Theodore right yet. He's going to be restocked this fall. So that's pretty much all I got. I got to rant about Snake Eyes for a little bit, and then Hasbro's buying a bunch of preschool toys. And
one more thing I want to go over. It'll be the last thing we'll talk about tonight.
we're going to finally renounce Tiger Force.
No, never. I've got a screenshot all of a sudden. All right, we had Joe Colton on a while back. They were doing the Finest Charity campaign. I think it was 2017.
Yes, it was for the calendars back then.
The calendar back then. They were doing it again. I'm sure they'll hit. They got 4 weeks to go, and they are at 87%. But this time, they have 4 new perks to show your support to the finest. And the all-in is probably the best way to go. You get a calendar, you get a patch, you get a T-shirt, and you get this Cobra Commander coin, which I think is absolutely amazing. I really like that.
And if you've watched the Sunbow series, it's straight up out of Money to Burn.
Yeah.
And Money to Burn is the episode where Cobra Commander in one of his cartoon Cobra Commander cracks me up. He comes up with the craziest schemes to take over the world, and he destroys all the world's paper money.
Yeah.
It's all gone, and the only currency is Cobra currency.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a challenge coin that is a really good recreation on the front of the Cobra coins that they did. And again, all of this, the proceeds are going to Canines for Warriors, which is a wonderful organization that is, if you had to merge a group, an organization that helps veterans with PTSD with animal adoption, that's Canines for Warriors.
Yeah. Multiple things here you can do. You can do the all-in, like I mentioned. You can do the patch for $10, the coin for $15, one of the shirts for $25. There's 2 different colors, blue and black. You can get the calendar for $30. Name a holiday. We went over these before. No one's claimed that one yet. At $90. Sponsored logo in the calendar. 3 out of 5 have been claimed. It's $150. So basically, you can have your logo in there, Joe Battle Lines, for $150, and you still get, I think you still get all the stuff with it, don't you?
Yeah. The only perk I wish they had, and maybe it's because we just talked about John Wick, but I wish I could get like a small roll of the coins. It's because it's like when Wick opens the floor and he's got those rolls of the coins from the Continental. I think that's awesome. And who really needs just one Cobra shilling? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You want to be like Savage, throw them all up in the air and roll around on the floor in your piles of nerd money.
Kind of like Scrooge McDuck when he goes swimming through his money.
I'm just saying. Have you ever seen the 2 of them in the room together? Same time, never happened.
Yeah.
So things we've learned tonight, to recap, is I think we're gonna draw short here. Joe Fest 2020 is going to be amazing. The Finest are releasing Cobra currency in addition to calendars and everything else to raise funds for Canines for Warriors. They're at 85%, but there's still time to get in and help them just blow past their goal. Because the more money they raise, the more money they can give to charity. The Snake Eyes movie is happening with an altered origin, and now Snake Eyes is driven by revenge. Hasbro now owns Peppa Pig, who will be appearing in a future episode of Transformers Rescue. But I'm sorry, she won't be. But Hasbro has now bought another brand to fold into their offerings and to their preschool space. And Marauder has made some of the best G.I. Joe figures that Hasbro and the club haven't.
Pretty much
I think
in a
that's
nutshell. Still disappointed just as much as you are.
Oh, yes, that's right. And the club is gone. A moment of silence for the death of the club. Not by.
And with that,
I just don't care. I just don't care.
No, neither one of us do. So,
On a
All
happier
right.
note, I think John Wick 3 comes out on DVD in another week. Ooh.
Does it? I know it's getting closer for. I didn't get to see it in theaters. And I heard it, and
Oh,
I heard. Well, no, I wasn't going to go with that one. I was going to say the one I was talking about was Men in Black International, but I heard it was a big flop.
never got around to it.
I didn't either.
It's one of those that I probably will eventually, but really liked. I don't know if I liked uh Wick 3 as much as 2 because I thought 2 was just freaking outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that's how you make an action movie, kids.
The sad part is I've not watched none of the John Wick films, but I am looking more forward to the next Bill and Ted movie than I am John Wick.
Whoa. How have you not?
I haven't watched another one of them. None of them.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's literally some of the best action movie I've seen in a long time. It's
I think I couldn't
damn.
get past the part of them killing his puppy.
Dude, but it's essential. That's like in the first so many minutes of the first film. And
Yeah.
it gets you. I mean, up until that point, you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is, and then it's like, oh, when that happens, and I don't care if for those of you who've seen it, just bear with me. Mike, they're basically this kid steals Wick's car because he wouldn't sell it to him. And he's the son of a Russian mob boss. And when the dad finds out, he just walks over and he's like, he picks up the phone and he's like, he stole a car? Okay. And then he walks over and he just punches his kid because he realizes whose car he stole
Wow.
and whose dog he killed. And it's like, that's the whole movie right there. Is everybody's like, John Wick? And pretty much the mob boss at that point's like, look, don't kill me. Don't kill my, and John's like, how this is going to go down. And it's just fantastic. So.
That's crazy. I have to check it out. But
you really should. All right, kids. I think that's all we got.
Yeah, we're going to get out early tonight. I know Fred had some stuff to do tonight. I also going to be getting ready for tomorrow. But anyways, y'all can find me everywhere as Angry Mike, and you can find everywhere, even Twitch for Fred at Joe Battlelines.
And really, I just finally renewed my site hosting, so who knows? Maybe I'll post an update now that I.
Why would you do such a thing?
Ugh. I got the bill from GoDaddy because I'd upgraded my hosting plan last year to get over some issues, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, it's going to be like a couple grand to renew it," and I'm like, "What?
Screw that!"
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
There were some negotiations on the phone because I don't monetize that site at all. That's all. It's out of pocket just to be a thing to help folks, I guess. So
yeah, I got you.
All right, guys.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you hopefully in 2 more weeks.
2 weeks with a guest. We don't know who yet. There'll be a guest.
We got a guest? Ooh, a guest.